Hello, hello, everybody. We are on YouTube. So now I'm going to connect to Facebook. Allow me just a couple of seconds, please. Excuse me. That's recorded now. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello to those of you who are watching the live stream from Facebook and those of you who are watching the live stream from YouTube. So, welcome, everybody. I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to greet everyone and make sure that I can read you all in the comments. So if you can let me know in the comment section, where are you watching me from or watching us from, watching the Interpret team. And my name is Banji Mateo. I am an English-Spanish medical interpreter located in the Dominican Republic. I'm also a trainer and I'm certified by NBCMI and CCHI, and I'm on my way to get my third certification with DPSI in the UK. And I'm also the founder of interpret.com. I don't know that already. Okay, so let's just get started with this OPI and VRI journal. This is where I talk about my experiences during my workday. So I just want to make sure that I can read everyone's comments in the chat. Okay, so if you leave a comment, I will be able to answer. So it's been a while since I do this OPI and VRI journal episodes, so it's really exciting to be back. I was in the United States for some time and I was traveling and doing some tourism and meeting some friends and working a little, so it was amazing. But now I'm back to the real world. And today I interpreted after a long time. I didn't interpret that much for about a month or so, maybe 3 weeks. So. And today I took some calls, which I loved because every day you always learn something new in each and every call. So that's really extremely interesting for me. So I learned three things today, or just things that are notable, I think observable for somebody who is working in the profession, as well as somebody who may not know how remote interpretation works. So the first one was turn taking. So I was interpreting in this scenario. It was a male LEP person, a Spanish speaker, and then there was a person who was kind of asking him questions about like your name, where are you calling from, and giving him some factual information. And so he kind of wanted to speak and understand. He tried so hard to speak and understand. He kind of interrupted me whenever I was going to interpret something. He immediately kind of cut me off and tried to say something and say like, yes, a couple of words in English. He caught something here and there, and then he just answered without really understanding. And then when at some point he told me, interpreter, aren't you going to interpret? And I'm like, of course, I will have to interpret for you if you don't interrupt me, if you let me get started, right? Because as an interpreter, you don't want to be rude and overtaking, right? Sometimes LEP persons can understand a lot more than what they seem to understand. And sometimes you're going to let that flow to be smooth, but at the same time, you want to ensure understanding and kind of intervene when necessary. So we were just like getting started, and it makes me think about how these LEP persons are so used to just going, maybe this is me just thinking out loud. These videos are not scripted, What would it be like to go about your daily life not understanding anything, but trying to understand all the time, making that mental effort all the time and not being able to switch to a laid back position and say, okay, I got an interpreter, let me do their job, right? So that's kind of what I experienced. And at the end, I told him, uh, yes, I'm able to interpret for you, but please stick to Spanish. So answer to the, wait for the interpretation first before answering, and make sure that you answer in Spanish. So that way, of course, the interpretation session can be much better. They can understand each other much better. So I kind of had to instruct them and be very empathetic with a very empathetic tone of voice. So turn taking can be really challenging in over the phone interpretation, especially because you don't see when somebody's like about to say something, you don't see their body language, you don't see their faces. You cannot read all of those things, so you only rely on their voice, and that's why some people may hate talking on the phone as well. So I just want that's my first comment about turn taking. So there is a lot more that I can say about it, but I don't want to go on and on and on in an endless conversation. So let me check the chat to see if we have any viewers so far. I'm also going to check on YouTube. All right. You always learn something new in each and every call. So that's bien. So the next one is about rates and certification. And this is actually really good because I received an email from an agency that they needed me to update my profile with my most current certifications, continuing education, etc. And I sent that to them. I told them that I acquired another certification, CHI, after they hired me because they requested me to give them this information. And then they replied with, okay, we have increased your rate by X amount. And I felt like, oh, this is great. I didn't have to beg for a raise. I didn't have to ask for a raise. They just gave it to me without me asking because I have gotten another certification. So this is actually quite rare, unfortunately, but that's the way it should be. If you get more education, if you get more training, if you become more experienced, you should make more money because you're a more experienced interpreter. And you shouldn't be, I feel like I don't like begging for things. I don't like asking for raises like salary raise too much. It makes me feel awkward. It makes me feel like I'm begging something. And I don't like to be in that position. I think they should appreciate me as I am. So this company showed that they do, even though they increase but like 5 cents. I can imagine myself working with this company long term because I'm going to get a third certification. So maybe I can ask for another raise instead of being 5 cents, maybe 10 cents per minute. Who knows, right? So yeah, that was a very positive experience. And I think that it's also related to another thing. I recently interviewed for a company and I asked for my US standard rate. Remember, I'm in the Dominican Republic. And I've had the experience that whenever you tell a recruiter or somebody that you're in the Dominican Republic, they want to pay you less because you're in a Latin American country, you are not in the US. Cost of living is obviously lower in here, but it's so I always have to justify myself like you live in the Dominican Republic, so why are you asking for this rate? It's always like that question because it seems like it's going to sound very, very ugly, but it seems like I deserve to be exploited just because I'm not in the US. And that's just ridiculous, I think. So I was able to get into this contract with this new agency without having to bargain too much. Um, they, so that was a very positive experience in terms of rates and certifications because they saw that I was an educated interpreter. that I was very good at what I do. I'm a trainer. So I guess what I would like you all to remember is that getting educated, getting your certifications is worth it, I believe. It's been really worth it for me. So it's really what you make of it, I think. Of course, it's there is a lot of unfairness and really foul play in this business. But I think if you really try your best and connect with like-minded people who really love the profession and want to give their best, you can manage. I think we can all uplift each other. So great. And the third one, it's about routing OPI and VRI calls and interpreter quality. So I work for a lot of agencies for remote interpretation, and each agency they have really very different platforms. Some of them are very basic platforms with just answer and hung up, like no, not a lot of features, and some others are actually very complex with like training materials and like a dashboard, all very well prepared. And that's great. But at the same time, there is just one thing that I wish we could have more control over, or at least on the agency side, because I've been on the training side, on the quality assurance side, supervising interpreters, and also on the other side, being an interpreter. And on both sides, I think we are missing control over call routing. So what is call routing is how the calls connect to the interpreter. So basically, just as an overview for those of you who do not know, when you take interpretation calls, you do it on demand. So basically, people call you at any point in time, from any place, at any time, and you just pick up the call. So I think that first, I would like to, as a recruiter, as a quality assurance agent, I would like to be able to have some sort of system. And I haven't been able to use it firsthand. Maybe it's already out there and people are using it and it's like a in-company kind of thing, but I haven't been able to see it. However, I would like to be able to control where the calls are going to. For example, if the calls are going to an interpreter specialized in education, in medical, in legal interpretation, depending on the level. So we have like a very highly trained specialized interpreter versus like an interpreter who is just a beginner. So we give the beginner the calls are easier, and the specialized interpreters the more complex calls. Of course, we don't always know the nature of a call. A call can look simple and become really complex because we don't know the topic beforehand. So that's one of the constraints. But at the same time, there is another thing that I would like to see, and I'm thinking on my feet right now. I'm being very spontaneous right now, so please help me out in the chat if you have any ideas or any comments. So one of them is, I think I just lost it. One of them is that I, when I'm thinking out loud, can you let me know in the chat if you have heard this concept about call routing and what do you know about it? Can you let me know? And I think I remember now what I wanted to say. Sorry. This video isn't edited. So I wish that the same interpreters could interpret for the same locations generally. So as an interpreter, I can get calls from Los Angeles, New York, Oregon, like all over the place all the time. And I wish that there was a way for an interpreter to take many calls from X institution, from this school district or this department. So that way you kind of get similar calls from about around like more or less the same people. And that way you get to know the person, you get to know the school, you get to know the location, you somehow get managed to know a little bit of the community and what's going on. And that way you have a little bit of more context, right? Because we have interpreted for them for so long. In my experience, something that people criticize about remote interpretation is that the remote interpreter, especially if they're outside of the US, they don't have the knowledge about how the community works or how the culture works. And we all know that cultures and community vary largely. Even within the same community, we have a lot of diversity. So it would be cool for the interpreter to integrate to that community by connecting with the same clients on a frequently, regularly. And also something else that I would like to see is to have more information about the client before you take the call. How do we know this? Well, sometimes you can see the names, sometimes the name of the, for example, this hospital from LA or this detention center or whatever. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. It depends on the platform, on the agency that we are interpreting for. So I wish that we could see the name, the reason for the call, maybe like a quick pop-up or a brief, that we ask people to complete just very briefly before we pick up the call. Of course, we can always ask those questions during the call, but I wish that there was just like a way to collect more context before beginning because people are already in a rush. They just wanted to, hello, interpreter, are you ready to interpret? Okay, hold on. And then they transfer the call. Sometimes they don't even let you give your introduction and they put you on the spot with the LEP, like right then and there, you have to interpret like on fire right away. So I wish there was like an opportunity just to pause and collect more information, either by the like the check-in process or the intake questions that you have to fill out or some way to really get to know the context. And I think that connecting with the same clients regularly helps quite a lot. And I remember I was in the AMM interview with NCISC, and it was fantastic. And one thing that they mentioned is that a lot of the providers like to interpret with interpreters that they know, right? Interpreters from their hospital staff that maybe work from home or have their own call center. They feel more comfortable because they know them. It's a familiar face, right? Um, and so the staff interpreters are also part of the community. They live in that community. Me, as a remote interpreter, especially outside the US, I'm not part of the community. However, I've been taking school district calls regularly for the same school district, and they love me. They say they really like me, and they even miss me sometimes. Like, oh, we haven't, and I do it over Zoom. And sometimes they say, oh, we haven't been able to see you in a long time, and I look forward to having another session with you. And you are our favorite interpreter. And thank you so much, Miss Mateo, that they really appreciate me, and it makes me think that I'm an interpreter outside the US. I'm Dominican. I'm not American. And these people, I'm not directly in their community, but they still can empathize with me and like me, and I can provide a good service because I have the time and the space to do so. It was created by accident, but it was there because we would regularly see each other. I'm a familiar face. They are familiar to me. I know their names. They know me. And it's all remote. So I wish we could have more of those opportunities to make remote interpretation a little bit more human, right? Not so much about, okay, like you are a random voice, whoever, like we don't know where you're at or we don't care. We just want you to interpret like a machine. So I wish we could create more of those opportunities, more of those spaces, either when we are working, after work, before work, or somewhere in between. And we have, like I always like to say, interpreters collect so much knowledge about their culture, about the LAP persons, and I think if we don't use that knowledge for something, it will go to waste. It's like letting food go bad. I use the example of food because I just feel really bad when I feel like we waste food and we throw it away, but it's really valuable for us. So what I'm trying to say here is that we should really try to make do a little more, be a little better, and that's where we're going to make interpretation better for all of us, not only for the interpreters, but most importantly for the LEP persons. So very exciting. So let me know in the chat what you think. I'm going to summarize again. So the first one is turn taking, taking turns. Sometimes it can be hard to know when somebody's going to intervene because it's like over the phone, you don't see their body language, you don't see their their gestures, but you have to be really kind and smile and with a very nice voice, even if they're not seeing you, tell them, oh, please wait for the interpretation or speak in your dominant language only so everything is easier, etc. And then I talk about rates and certifications, right? How having a certification has helped me and how an agency, like a big agency, actually raised my rates without me asking for it. It's like, it's lovely. It shows appreciation. And I want to keep working with this agency long term, and I want to keep getting certifications. And I think we should get even more levels of certification of advanced, specialized medicine, etc. We also talk about routing, OPM, VRI calls, and quality. So I define quality, being part of the community, having opportunities to connect with people remotely. Um, and oh, I didn't mention how it relates to quality because I think it was quite implicit. Of course, if the interpreters like you, but I'm sorry, if the providers like you, if the LEP likes you because you see them regularly or you see the provider regularly, then it's like they are much more likely to have a better experience. Okay, so lots of thoughts. Again, unscripted. I'm sorry if I just went off tangent a little or I'm a bit of a blabbermouth. Okay, so let me see if we have any comments or any questions in the chat. Let me know what you think. What has been your experience? I'm going to wait for a couple of minutes for the live stream to catch up with me. Better experience. Okay. Okay, so we have a comment on YouTube. It says, hello, I'm watching on YouTube. Thank you for doing this. I'm hoping to be CCHI with my results of my recent exam from Rula. Oh, thank you. Thank you for watching, Rula. And thank you. I hope you pass as well. If you're here watching this in your free time, it's because you really care about interpretation. So I have a good feeling that you're going to pass that exam because you are doing what it takes. So great. Any other comments or any other questions? The Facebook chat is a bit silent. We have 5 people watching us. So I'm just going to give you another opportunity just to um, add any comments. And just FYI, I'm going to keep doing a lot more of these uh, journals. I love journaling, video journals, written journals. I like archiving things. So yes, so I guess I am going to end the live stream here, but you can watch this on replay and watch a recording. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Okay? So, goodbye, everybody. Bye.